Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, guys. Ahlan wa sahlan. Or like some people say, roti and salan. Okay, so I hope you guys are
You
well.
already started, man.
Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. Let us know if the sound is working good. That's all we're after. We're just, we're just like, what do you call them? Those guys who are like sound junkies. Yeah, we just are sound junkies, guys. So let us know if the sound's working good or do I need to tweak it up. So is it on Facebook?
Yeah.
All right. So as you guys know, it's Thursday night, and whenever it's Thursday night, number one is obviously that means tomorrow's Friday, and Juma and all that. But it also means that we have the three dates. Yeah, mashallah. With us is brother Naveed, and mashallah, your Naveed. You know what? Your light is looking good today. I thought my light was looking good today, but your light is.
The-
What is it?
You know what it is? It's not even the light. It's. I'm gonna admit it. I'm using my sister's MacBook today, yeah, and it's 10 times better
Whoa, it's really
my
good.
laptop.
Very good.
And because it's a slightly newer Mac, I think the camera is quite good on it as well.
Is it 16-inch?
Now this one's a smaller one. I think it's a 13-inch. This one.
Go on, bro. Go
It's not
on,
mine,
bro.
bro. It's my sister's.
He's updated and upgraded Mufti.
Yeah, no, these are.
I need to get one though. I'm deciding whether to buy
You know what?
a
This looks
MacBook.
very good. Like your image on my computer. I don't know if anyone else agrees with me, but it looks like the lighting's right. It's reflecting off your face right. Everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
saying,
mine,
the,
mine,
do I
mine was
buy
a
a
bit.
MacBook or do I buy a Surface Plus?
I don't know about Surface. I'm not too familiar with those.
You
But
got a Mac?
I got a Mac. Return of the
Mac.
Mac. That's my
Astaghfirullah.
dalil. That's my dalil.
Astaghfirullah.
Yeah, bro.
Mufti coming out with some proper random things. Guys, share it on your Facebook pages as well,
Yeah,
please.
if you can share on your Facebook page. So, guys, let us know if you guys can hear if the sound's working properly. And inshallah, we will start our podcast, inshallah ta'ala. So,
Always looking like he's about to start a DJ set.
Who?
You?
yeah, he does,
Us?
Yeah,
You look like you're about to just spin some records on the radio now, bro.
yeah, that's it, man.
No.
Well, you were a radio presenter for so many years as well, weren't you?
How did you get into that, Altaf, by the way?
Phoned them up, said, "Can I do radio?" And they said, "Yeah." Turned up, did
Really?
radio. I
Well,
think
Nice.
it
they
was
set
one
the
of
bar
those
really
things
high,
that you
didn't they?
kind of like. I'd done a couple of interviews on radio, and they said your voice sounds good on radio. So can you would you think about doing a show?
Mm.
They
They
said your
said you had
face
a
looks
face
good
for
on radio
radio.
as well. Um, so I kind of went on, and 3.5 years later, I'd managed to do quite a few shows. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, mashallah, it's good, man. You do have like a radio kind of voice. It's that kind of like, radio voice is like that kind of like, it's not monotonous. It kind of like peaks and troughs. Yeah, it
Peaks
keeps
and
it
troughs.
engaged. It's like I always imagine like a radio presenter like sitting on the edge of his seat, like bouncing up and down.
Yeah,
It's like that
I
kind of
think
one.
you have to, when you're just doing vocals, you have to kind of get really excited. So when we were doing Unity FM stuff, we would be like, "Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh." You're like forcing your energy down the phone,
Okay.
down the microphone.
Yeah.
Proper cringy stuff, huh?
You had to, and you had to
Yeah.
because that's the only way you could express your emotion. Otherwise, you just came across like monotone and like that, and you were speaking,
I think
you
the
know,
first exposure I probably had to a radio presenter, well, I thought what radio was actually like was watching Frasier Crane. Don't know if anybody ever
Oh
watched
yeah,
Frasier.
Fraser. That was actually a good show.
Yeah. So Frasier was basically a radio psychologist and used to hear people's problems. And I
Yeah.
always used to think, yeah, radio's like this. They got a massive network, and until I landed at a local radio station, which I won't name, and I realized that it's like a box on a sofa and lots of Pakistanis
No,
in one room.
that's sincerity, bro. Sincerity gone out the window there, bro. You lost all your. Yeah. So I mean, I think that when the first time I went on radio was Altaf. Altaf when he phoned me and said me, you're not going on radio, and I mean, I actually prefer radio more than giving talks. I think.
Is it because
Yeah, I
you
think
can
they can't
put
see
your
your
nose and no
face.
one can
Yeah,
see?
you can't see your face, and you feel more relaxed, and you're not kind of like, you're not kind of behaving any sort of like in a sort of unnatural way. It's more conversation, isn't it? That's like podcasts. In a podcast, in the beginning, it starts off a bit, that kind of new Eid kind of start, and then slowly biryani, yeah, rasmalai, and then that afternoon nap that you get.
And now we're on like dal.
And that's it, bro. That's it, bro. So yeah, so
I
I
wasn't
think,
here last week, so let me just touch up on that. How did your podcast go, lads? Was it good?
mashallah, mashallah. What can I say, man? What can I say? So I
Did
mean,
Brother Ati keep my seat warm, mashallah?
brother Atik took you over.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, basically he was your khalifa.
Mashallah, tabarakallah. I was at that time. I think I was in a Sprinter van heading up to Middlesbrough from
Okay.
Newcastle, something like that. So connection was quite poor. I did want to try and listen in. I came online. I gave salam, but then I lost connection.
Oh, yeah. We were actually on till about what time? 1 o'clock. That was crazy. I was so tired. I was like knackered within the kind of topics that were popping up.
It was one of them topics where I'm sure there were loads of secret listeners and people that weren't listening at the time probably went and listened back.
Have you seen that
Just in
meme?
case they missed my
Have you seen
charity.
that meme where Shaquille O'Neal's there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're behind the tree, and they say like everyone has on their social media those guys who just watch, yeah, and they're not there to support you. Yeah, but these kind of topics, I think sometimes that kind of idea where we know something, but then we just want to know that people know that we know, that kind of one. It's like that kind of situation. They give the example, innit, of there's a guy with a big nose, and everyone knows he's got a big nose, but then you got that little infant walking with the mum, and then one day the little infant says to the mum in front of everyone, "Look at that guy's big nose." So it becomes embarrassing now because everyone knows that everyone knows that they know.
Everyone knows the nose.
Yeah, so it's like one of those kind of situations that we know certain things in our community or in our culture or whatever, but it's just the idea of highlighting it. It takes it to another level.
Good, mashallah.
Anyway, guys, so today's topic is about following fatwas, madhabs, etc. We actually, in reality, let's be honest, guys, yeah. We actually wanted to have today a podcast on mental health issues in the Muslim community. But we are, inshallah, next week, inshallah, going to have that. So we're going to have a doctor on, inshallah. And he's going to be able to give us an insight into, problems that as a doctor he faces and, this kind of stigma attached to mental issues. And so I think that's going to be another interesting one. Hopefully, if we can get another person on who also may have some sort of insight for us as well. Maybe a Raqi, maybe a Raqi or someone.
Anyone suffering from mental health, you're more than welcome.
I don't think that was.
I don't
think that was the right time to say that, bro.
Yeah.
We need to be inclusive.
Okay, anyway.
It's a serious problem, though. Like, I know we're not going to go into it today, but
I think it's a very big problem in our
brushed
community.
under the carpet all the time.
Yeah, very.
And
big
a lot
problem.
of the time, like you say, Mufti Saab, is people blame it on seher, black magic, and think that the Rocky can solve everything. Where sometimes they need to speak to a counselor, not a counselor that works in the council. Thank you for correcting me earlier, Altaf. I find it clicked on. I was like, "Is that how you spell it?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that's what he meant."
Yeah, I get confused with those two words as well. Yeah, it's like principle and principle. Principle and principle.
Yeah,
I get confused with that. And this.
It could have been worse. I could have mixed up there and there. Then it would have got like really tricky.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely.
Playground business.
Definitely. And I think the other thing is, especially with COVID-19, at the moment we're going through, it's created this like more of problems because people are isolated and people, for the first time in their lives, they kind of like, people want to stay at home, right? They don't want to go work, but they just realize, what, going to work actually keeps me sane sometimes, or meeting my friends, or. So anyway, so let's share this then. Have we shared it?
Somebody's asking you the question. They're asking, why does Naveed look like he's stuck in a closet? Harun is asking you on Facebook, and I was thinking he's always been in the closet, hasn't he?
Allah.
Mashti, these are curtains, bro. That's my wardrobe. That here.
Where's the link for this? I can't seem to find the link. Oh, okay, I found it. All right.
Harun as in Harun, which Harun? Harun Hussein.
Harun Hussein,
Allah.
Harun Hussein, Belgium.
the Belgian.
Yeah, the muscles from Belgium.
The muscles from Belgium.
Yep.
You know, I don't understand the difference between Brussels and this whole Belgium thing. Aren't they the same thing? What is it, bro? Is it just like Alan Rock and Aston?
One's a country, one's a capital.
Okay, is it Brussels the capital?
Is Brussels? No, maybe not. Maybe it's you. I'm confused now. You've like made me doubt myself.
That's it, bro. That's what these podcasts.
Brussels is the capital of Belgium.
Is it?
Yeah. Why did I get confused again?
Okay, so we got Tahmid Chowdhury saying, Allah, I get to listen to 2 discussions on madhabs and fatwa. Allah, mashallah. Baro, Tahmid Sahiba. This is what happens, bro. When you obviously know us, yeah, then you don't need to know anyone else. Astaghfirullah. That sounds a bit dodgy. But you know what I mean, Tahmid. Yeah. Rose Lee, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Muhammad Abu Bakr, yeah, we met as well. MashaAllah. Again, we meet. Once we met in face to face, and now we meet online. Okay, so
Mashallah.
let's get cracking then. So, all right, let's do a little round of questions then, yeah? What is the most sort of confusing thing that you have ever experienced in your life when it came to issues like fatwas? Like,
The
be
most
honest.
confusing one.
Like, for example, you started practicing, and you in your first time hear about these kind of like Islamic terms like madhab, and you hear about fatwa, and you hear about these kind of things.
For me,
Or was it just something you were just like one of those kind of movies where you just see the scene and you accept the scene for what it is, you don't question it?
I think it was one of them ones. Was upset. I was happy with serendipity.
Yeah. Okay. So you never had like any issues ever in the beginning where you kind of thought to yourself, you know what, this sounds very strange. This is, I don't know why, but
No, but because you got that thing where you're wanting to practice and you know that you're gonna have to show blind faith at some point. So you're prepared to show it at lots of different points.
okay.
So you'd follow the scholar because you wouldn't want to follow your that thing, but you either you don't follow your desires,
Okay.
and you get like mixed up with not following your desires and actually trying to also focus in on doing religion properly, because the guy's got a bigger beard than you, and his ayns are much more powerful, so he must know what he's talking about.
So was that your measure for measuring the strength of the fatwa?
Do you know yeah, probably my one was just fine. I think I met Sheikh Zahir quite early, and one of the things he mentioned was like just find a scholar, one scholar, and stick to them, and don't go shopping around. And I think that made it really easy for me. So I wasn't confused because I knew there was lots of opinions, but I could just accept that I'm going to go to that guy and that's the guy. Whatever he says, I'm cool with, because I don't want to follow my own desires on this stuff. Probably changed now, but that's what it was.
So okay, so then when was that point where you actually came across like you thought something was very strange? Actually, when was the first time you did fatwa shopping?
First time I did fatwa shopping. First time I did fatwa shopping. Probably, in the last couple of years. I was quite strict guy, man. Probably for the last 2-3 years.
Was
probably
it
been
when you started working in certain organizations?
probably after I left that certain organizations, Mufti Sahib, probably after.
Naveed is like saying, we all know.
Now mine is probably after probably in the last 2 years, where I kind of like wasn't as satisfied with some of the answers that I seemed to be getting, and it seemed to be like some things just didn't make sense anymore, and so you're looking for answers that made a little bit more sense. And not sense in like they make sense to you, but sense in the form of they had a religiously sound understanding that they could link you back to, like there was some relationship. Because otherwise, what it seemed like, it was like basically, this is how I can explain it. I can't probably explain. I'll try to think of an example as well if I can. But it was like the scholar was telling you something that had been developed, right? and then he was telling you something that he had developed on top of this sandcastle that had been made by man as well. So he's like, I understand religion to be this. So here's my opinion. Here's the opinion for historically, and my opinion is a branch or a tranche of that. And it was like really far away. It seemed from religion. So an example of that might be in zakat. You know that whole flipping the money over.
Okay.
So
For
you look at that and you're like,
yeah, for the
like, oh, that's a
viewers, just
healer.
explain.
So what happens is sometimes in the subcontinent, what would happen is that you can't give zakat to an institution, or also the kind of like the subcontinental Hanafis believe that you can't give zakat for institutions. And what they would do is that they would give zakat to the individual person, and that individual person would be in a madrasa. He needs to pay for the madrasa as well. So the mosque will collect zakat. They will then distribute it to the kids or the students, and the students will be given the money upstairs or something along those lines, and then they would come downstairs and pay their fees with that zakat. And like that just didn't make any sense to me. That just like seemed like we needed to, do possessive ownership like that. It's like, why did you give him permission? So when you hear stuff like that, it just didn't make sense, and you're like, okay, so you're saying that this is what Allah wants you to do. And I find that really hard to kind of get to grips with.
I think a lot of people who are new practicing, they'll probably hear something like what you're saying there, and they'll kind of say, you know what, this sounds very sort of on the dodgy sort of like side. Like, how does a person decide that when they hear a fatwa from a scholar, that they should try to rationalize it, or try to kind of analyze it from their own point of view, whether it's something which is sound to them, or whether it kind of like shows consistency in the Sharia from what they understand? Or is it practical simply as that? Is it something which is practical? I mean, I'll give you an example. The first time I heard a strange sort of thing was the issue of it's considered dislike to learn English. This was like a fatwa in Pakistan, when I was in Pakistan. It was like
or for women to learn geography.
Yeah, one of those kind of ones. Yeah. And it was like strange, because the first time I heard was like, some scholars said, people shouldn't learn English. Like wearing the suit, wearing English clothes. Yeah, that was frowned upon. So you kind of like accepted that. I think you accepted that because you understood. Oh, it makes sense. You're not supposed to, imitate the non-Muslims. And then you kind of think to yourself, oh, that makes sense. Okay, I shouldn't be wearing clothes like this. I should be wearing something more recognized as being Muslim per se. But the English one was strange. I was thinking, why is this for? Why is learning English wrong? And you had like, I remember this was in our own madrasa that we were in. There were certain teachers who would actually kind of say, "Where did you go?" And the student goes, you try to hide the fact that he goes to study tuition on the side to learn English. So, yeah, with that hat, bro, that's it. You got it, bro. And then, like, it doesn't even make sense. I was thinking, why? I know English. Like, I'm born learning, with English, so to say. So, am I wrong? Is what I'm doing wrong? Or is it like the learning is wrong? So, if you know English already, okay. But then is learning English wrong? And then I think those kind of questions began to make me kind of realize that, you know what? This kind of, maybe it's not thought out properly. Simple as that. And sometimes I think this, sometimes a scholar might give a fatwa, he hasn't seen what I've seen, or he hasn't been exposed to a lot of things in the world. And then it kind of leads him naturally to be very sort of like restricted in how he answers people's questions. Now, some people might disagree and say, well, he's a scholar, at the end of the day, you should trust him. And then some people might say, well, just because a scholar is a scholar, it doesn't mean that, he has the right answer to everyone. Yeah. So I think that was one of the first sort of strange. I don't know if anyone else maybe in the comments has ever come across the first sort of that strange sort of answers. Fatwas. Naveed, what about yourself?
Strange fatwa. A bit similar to what you said, Mufti Saab. I think the tie thing, like when it came to libas, you can't wear a tie because it represents X, Y, and Z. I thought that's a bit far fetched. And obviously, when you go down that rabbit hole and you realize that this was imitating, and this was that, and this was that, and then I realized to a lot of people, that statement is anything that happens outside the four walls of the madrasa. And then you realize that, like, I don't want to call it indoctrinated thinking, but it kind of is to some extent. So
You don't want to call it, but you are going to call it, yeah?
yeah, basically, yeah. I just did it. And that's what it sounded like. And even that, like what you said there, Mufti Saab, about not learning English, then you think to yourself, okay, a language that isn't adopted by or naturally spoken by, let's just say, overwhelming majority of Muslims. If the early Sahaba even thought like that, then like how would Islam have spread anywhere other than the Arabian Peninsula? Someone had to learn the language. Someone had to go and like engage with someone, like, to speak and communicate with people other than, the
Yeah.
Arab. So some of the stuff, it comes back down to logic, but then, like you say, Mufti Sahib, you come across that crossroad that even that person who's probably even given you this ruling, he
Yeah.
studied a certain level in his life, and you have to give him the respect and the credit that he does deserve. And obviously, you've gone there for a reason, so you don't throw it totally under the bus. I think
Yeah.
over age and obviously being around quote unquote practicing people and stuff, I think one thing you do learn is learning how to respect opinion that you might strongly disagree with.
So okay, so
So a couple of
You know,
people
I
have
think this
mentioned
issue
stuff
with-
online, Mufti Sahib.
I think the issue with respecting, I think we need to talk about this a bit. And the reason I'm saying we need to talk about this a bit is because, see, sometimes what happens, especially when you live in the West,
Yeah.
you might get someone who is on the spectrum, right? They might be very, very rational in how they approach things in Islam,
Yeah.
right? Because maybe the circles they sit in, or maybe the background that they've got in education or whatever, it just naturally makes them very inquisitive, right? And they're very critical in how they think. And then you might have someone on the other flip side of the spectrum who is more, you can say, what's the word
Spiritual.
for it?
Spiritual.
Not spiritual. I mean, the word is more like is it docile a good word to use?
We get the energy is docile in it.
Yeah, it's like they're not really kind of like, using any faculties of thinking in this kind of issue. It's just an issue of, you know what, as long as someone's told me this, I'm not really going to question it. And I've actually seen people who've actually, like, let me tell you an incident. There was a guy, this guy
Was it in
came,
Pakistan, Mufti Sahib?
huh?
Was this in
No,
Pakistan?
no. This was in England. So one day in England, yeah, or in London, May. So this guy, yeah, he goes to me, I actually gave up a job. I actually declined a job, a very high job, simply because they told me you have to wear a suit or, some kind of suit sort of like clothing. And I couldn't wear my shalwar kameez and that. And like, to me, I was thinking like, why would like your clothing be so important that you would actually compromise your own earning, your halal earning, because of this? And he actually heard it from one of his scholars or teachers or whatever, who said it's like the statements that are used are very emotionally packed statements, like giving up the sunnah, giving up the dunya for the sunnah. Yeah, one of those kind of ones. Yeah, I would rather give up the dunya for one sunnah than, that kind of, and it's very emotionally charged kind of statement. And
Even
I,
though there's no clothing, but anyway.
yeah, that kind of thing. And it was like, I was thinking, you know what, but that's not how fatwa works. That's not how fiqh works. And then if you try to tell this guy, no, you didn't have to do that, you could have taken the job, that would have had such an impact on him. Because either he would consider me to be, deviated, right? Because how can anything I say which goes against what his sheikh says obviously has to be, against the norm. Or he's just going to have such an impact on him that it will leave doubts in his heart about, religious figures in Islam and their statements. So I think this is a very tricky area to kind of navigate through, I think. Yeah, sorry, what were you saying? Is there questions?
People are talking about chess and playing chess, and chess is haram. That was their first like interaction where they were told they can't play snooker, because
I heard you're good at
for the
snooker.
wasting time thing.
Altaf, I heard you're good at, yeah.
I'm alright. I can play a bit of snooker, a bit of pool, a bit of badminton. We try.
Yeah, so
And
okay.
I can hold a cue, but I'm not great at snooker.
Yeah.
But he's saying snooker is, he was told it's a waste of time, which that one makes a little bit of sense, but like saying chess is haram and like not giving any kind of validation behind why chess is haram,
Yeah.
like that doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
Wasting time one's a good one because that makes sense in the sense of religion. Like okay, that actually I am wasting time. Um,
I
and there's
mean,
some
it's
people will.
interesting. See, the interesting thing here is how do we define something like wasting time? Like okay, if you had like a sort of like a, again, I'm gonna use the word spectrum. If you had a spectrum of wasting time, what would you put on either side of wasting time? Like okay, sitting down just watching paint dry, is that wasting time? Yeah, you know, I don't know.
So your spectrum, you'd have two sides. One side of your spectrum would be conscious, like in I think people imagine it to be as the one side of the spectrum is completely being away and not remembering God, and the other side of the spectrum is, remembering Allah.
Had an incident.
What are you trying to do, bro?
My phone was trying to put it on silent, and then I flipped the wire over. It's the hat. I couldn't bear the weight.
Actually, that's a nice hat, but it's a bit hot, isn't it?
It's all right.
Looks like one of those Chechen sort
One
of.
of those in between ones. I don't know why I bought. It was an impulse buy. I bought it from Janid Jamshed.
Okay. How much it
Not
cost?
him personally.
How much
but,
did they cost?
the shop. I think it was 12 quid. Mufti Sab.
Yeah, might have to go
It's
visit that
expensive
place.
for a hat, man.
Yeah, take mine if you want, Mufti Sab. You don't see me wearing it.
But it looks too hot. My head gets too hot. These kind of hot hats. I just get like very hot headed, and then dandruff. It just gets I get a lot of dandruff. So yeah, so that's why I don't wear topi.
That's why I don't wear topi.
I thought you were one of them other guys, though. That's why you didn't wear a topi. He can't be a Hanafi. He doesn't wear a topi.
No, Akbar. Bro, that's it. You caught me. You caught me out, man. You spotted. You found the signature Hanafi. Yeah, the hallmark. So yeah, so like it's interesting because when it comes to that wasting time issue, this is I personally think this is one of those sort of like taken for granted statements. Like if you say to someone in Islam you shouldn't waste time, it makes sense to them because it's like you imagine, for instance, like Sahaba radiallahu anhum, like utilizing all their time, every second of their life, every minute of their life. But was that true? Did they really kind of like? In fact, like there's many Sahaba. Umar radiallahu anhu, you probably don't know this, but he actually wasn't with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the time. He actually used to be with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in some narrations every other day. Yeah, and it was like many of the companions, they actually would like get married without telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the marriage. So when it comes to these kind of issues, the thing that kind of like always kind of like plays in my mind is when we say something is a waste of time. For one person, something being a waste of time might not be a waste of time for someone else. The idea is, for example, like you had a long day work, for example. Yeah, you've been working, you're stressed out, you're tired, and you just want to kind of go on your phone and just scroll through the feed. Is that a waste of time? And or for example, like you just want to go for a walk somewhere. Is going for a walk a waste of time? Should you have sat at home and maybe, I don't know, get read a book or something, or watch something which was beneficial for you? So this is why when people use this waste of time thing, I think it's unfair when people use it because first of all, we don't have a definition of waste of time is, and B, it's because this wasting time is so nuanced. Like not rather wasting time, using your time in your day is so nuanced that there might be something in your day, like they even say boredom. Boredom's supposed to be good for you. I don't know how true that is, because it activates certain parts of the brain, which create a creativity in your brain. So it's like, maybe we haven't looked into the whole issue. And sometimes when scholars used to say things about wasting time, they were talking about their time. So like when it goes back down to these games and things, you ask a professional gamer, online gamer, is gaming waste of time? The guy probably earned more than all of our salaries put together. Yeah, ninja, him, he earns like $100,000. I don't know, it's probably more than that a month. Yeah, $100,000 a month on
Almost as
sponsorships.
much as Al-Taf.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's like you're thinking to yourself, $100,000 a month for playing a game, right? So these guys actually, is it wasting time now? But then, someone might argue, well, let's look at it long term. It might not be wasting time at that moment. He might be earning, providing for his family, etc., opening up projects. Like you hear about, what's that guy's name? Is it Akon? Who set up all these electricity and lighting for so many cities in Africa.
Econ, yeah.
Yeah, so you're thinking, okay, maybe there is some benefit in these kind of things. So this is why when people are looking into this idea of wasting time, I personally think in the time that we're living in today, like the audience is a more informed audience than, for instance, let's say in some countries, yeah, or some cities in some countries, and they need to be explained things that make sense to them. Yeah, otherwise, like for instance, why is chess wrong for? So someone might argue, well, it comes in a narration about chess and this and that. But then the question goes back again, there were many scholars in the past who actually allowed chess, or are they going against the narration deliberately? Or did they understand something about the narration which we can't really kind of grasp it straight away? Which is the idea was that for some people, maybe playing chess is a waste of time. If there's a guy who's not providing for his family, and he's spending most of his day just sitting with his mates outside just playing chess, clearly that's wrong. You don't need a religious fatwa to say it's wrong. Yeah? But if there's a guy who's earning for his family and he's not wasting his time, he's using this as a means of socializing, like you say nowadays. You make sort of more friends and stuff like that. Just going out with mates and eating, or going for football or something, or just going for a drive. So I think these kind of things, like these kind of games, and I actually came across a statement of one of the famous scholars in India, Mufti Shabir Ahmad Uthmani, who actually says that he says games all goes down to intention, basically. Because if your intention is good behind it, why you're doing it for, if there's like a health benefit for it, or mental benefit for it, or anything else, then it's praiseworthy to do it. I think if we teach our children this idea that Islam is not against wasting time, Islam is against like the consequences of wasting time, like a broader sort of understanding of wasting time. Yeah, I think people will start to utilize their time more better. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys? What's your guys' understanding of this? Because I've seen this kind of thing a lot in our times today, where people will ask me, they'll say, "Oh, is playing cards haram? Is playing Ludo haram?" Because they come across a narration which seems to indicate towards this, but they're not presented with the context of the narration. Like, what's the background to it? Was it because there was people who used to gamble with games? Right, they simply gambled. It was a gambling thing in them days, right? And you hardly ever had a group of people who played a dice game except that they were gambling. So it makes sense that Prophet ﷺ passes a general ruling about this.
I think Mufti Saab, you're right. It's down to the individual what they do with the time. Like chess, like you said, that was a good example where somebody could be wasting their life playing chess, and their whole family's suffering as a consequence. But then there might be somebody that's always out and about making trouble, and the only way to keep sane and stay indoors for this person might be chess. So chess is actually, in fact, a good thing for this person. So yeah, I think wasting time is too broad. Mufti Saab is just like, me and Altaf used to talk about this like back in the day. Like when you tell people, "Oh, brother, why are you going out? You could have saved this money and you could have sent it abroad and it could have done this." Once you open that floodgate, why did I buy trainers for £8? I could have bought trainers for £7 and given £1 to charity abroad. Like, it's just too much. You can't open that floodgate, and wasting time, like you said, and even the gaming and the narration you're mentioning, Sheikh. Like, I don't know, like.
It's the two things, and it's the false equivalencies that people create, and the ones that sound superficially rational. So you get false equivalencies where they say, "Oh, this against this," why are you spending money on that? You could be helping the poor, and there's an equivalency there, and then it has some superficial rationality to it, but it doesn't actually make sense. Like so it sounds intelligent, it sounds like it's in the right ballpark. Yeah. But it actually has no relevance whatsoever the more you dig into it. And I think kind of like Musab, one of the things you were mentioning before about this spectrum, when it comes to those kind of, there's certain people that will look at your spectrum, right? This is kind of completely off topic, but that there are certain people that will look at the spectrum, especially within certain kind of schools from the Indian subcontinent, where you're either following a very strict version of, say, for instance, you're very strict Deobandi, right? And even within that strictness, there's probably many shades of gray. But once you're not following any of those kind of things, you seem to like they just completely take you off the list. So you're either in this small clique or you're out of the clique completely. There is no like there's no wider area for you to go to. So and that manifests in this way is that if you become fairly strict and you follow somebody, which is great and fine, and then you keep following them, and then you start to ask them questions, right? Sometimes those questions themselves are seen as you're asking too much. You don't need to know the answers to these things. And it leaves your mind with doubt and pondering sometimes, like, this doesn't make sense. So then when you move away from it ever so slightly, and you might go and follow some, a scholar from somewhere else, people kind of like look at you as if you've deviated off the norm. He's no longer part of the clique.
I think, and I would add to that, I think maybe there's an element of like this sort of like cultural pressure as well. I think a lot of this stuff, it kind of, it gains momentum with cultural pressure. So if you've got enough momentum in the community to make you feel bad by you doing anything, like, typical one is if you live in some sort of like some communities, wearing jeans, wearing a t-shirt and going out to the park or something can be seen as being wrong. They won't say to you that this is going against Islam per se, because there's no real evidence to kind of indicate that. But it will be as though, you just feel bad what people are going to say about this. So I think it's more about this idea of people kind of like feeling bad inside because they're doing something. And yeah, definitely, I mean, what you're saying about this idea of how, there's some people who will just accept a very restricted like level of that spectrum. Yeah, they'll only look between a certain few levels, and anything outside of that, for whatever reason, whether it's because they're scared of, if they speak outside of that, ask something outside of that, it might kind of cause too much attention towards themselves or whatever. So it is something which is Allahu Akbar. Background's back. Well, by the way, that table now is actually made here, and I've got my stuff on it now. So,
MashaAllah.
Yeah,
did Mufti Imran do it for you?
Yeah, he did it for me. Yes.
MashaAllah.
What did Mufti Imran do for you, Mufti Saab?
That desktop, he made the top for me.
I thought you were going to say he did my Islam. I was about to say, what's going on here?
No. Every day, bro. Every day, my sir.
MashaAllah.
Yeah. So these kind of like there's these kind of statements like someone's asked on the YouTube and said, isn't there a hadith that other than engaging in three things, everything else is a waste of time? Archery, enjoying with wife, and one more thing, which was horse riding. So it's like there must be a reason why these three things were mentioned. Clearly, the Prophet ﷺ is not going to mention a whole A to Z of what things are allowed and what things are not allowed, because that doesn't seem to be from the nature of the Prophet ﷺ to be so detailed in how people need to live their lives. Yeah. So
is this one of those spirit of the law versus letter of the law things?
Yes, that's it. So people who take this narration, when you ask them things, okay, what else did the Sahaba used to do? Like, what else did they used to do? Do you know anything else you used to do besides archery and besides? So now what happens is you get people who are just learning archery. Have you seen it? So you get people, and it's become a practice now. So it's like people see it as a religious sort of, because of the narration. But then you think to yourself, well, I mean, I don't think archery is going to help you a lot if you're going for war or something, because it's not really one of those weapons which is, is going to be useful for you. Right, learning how to shoot a gun, maybe the modern form of archery, that might be useful to you. And it made sense in them days because archery was a very powerful tool to be able to, subdue the enemy. And then the issue of riding horses as well. Again, some people will take that hadith and will take it that, we should learn how to ride horses. There's benefit in riding horses. And then there might be someone who never in their whole life rides a horse. Yeah, so does that mean that person now is missing in their life one of these things. The Prophet ﷺ rode camels. He rode donkeys. What about riding donkeys and camels? Yeah. The Prophet ﷺ sometimes walked barefooted. Sometimes he walked with slippers on. Sometimes, he wore different types. He actually wore clothing. It's interesting. He wore clothing that was gifted to him from Egypt. That there's the Egyptian design. He wore that. And he wore clothing that was donated to him, gifted to him from Byzantine, Roman, like a Roman clothing. He wore that. So when people learn more about the culture in the time of the Prophet ﷺ and how things worked and all these kind of things, it's sometimes a shock to a lot of people. Now, when I was working on my that course, Jahiliyyah, basically, it was to do with what was happening in the Jahiliyyah era, like what kind of games they used to play, what kind of houses they used to live in, what kind of jokes that they used to have, what kind of education system. That kind of has a big shock on people because they're exposed to like this context to how the statements occurred. So this is why these kind of things. I think people need to like understand the seerah, the lives of the Sahaba more, in order for people to really truly appreciate what the vastness of our religion. Like the vastness of our religion is what the scholars understood from it. Okay, archery is like cricket, modern day equivalent. Allahu Akbar. Ulluka patta is. Okay.
I love his name.
Gaming is the archery of today. Yeah, I mean, it depends how, like, it depends what the reason was why the Prophet ﷺ was encouraging Sahaba to take up archery. Was it because they were living in a very hostile time that you could be called for battle at any moment? So you have to be skilled. But gaming doesn't seem to be something which is like a necessity of life. Like I would say, like when you were in school, they used to say to you, "Oh, you got to learn how to swim." And you go, "Why do I need to swim?" I don't live in certain parts of the world where it's going to flood. I live in the UK. And then they go, no, it might flood in the UK and you'll be saved one day. You'll thank your teachers for teaching you how to swim. Right? And now you don't even need to know how to swim, really.
You mentioned floods, Mufti Saba. While we're on the subject, I was quickly ask you, obviously there's floods that have taken place in Pakistan at the moment and parts of Afghanistan as well.
Yeah.
And in Karachi, is your family, your area okay at the moment?
Alhamdulillah. They're okay. When I was there in Pakistan, there were so many, like in the summer, it was a regular thing to have like flooded roads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like because the sewage system and the drainage they have over there is very poor. And then it rains. When it rains like all of a sudden, like, torrential rain you'll have lasting for hours. And then the houses are not really kind of designed for rain. And there's so many other factors. So when we see it from the West, we kind of think that the country is destroyed. But it's not.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
You've obviously studied the Hanafi madhab to its full extent, basically, and you've got iftar in it, etc., etc. When was the first time you had interaction with somebody from a different madhab, and then you heard some of his opinions, not made you doubt yourself, but made you go back into your books and, read up some of the masail again and look at them slightly differently? When was the first time you actually had a conversation like that with someone? Where did you meet this person?
Okay, let me tell you about like my kind of journey, yeah, in brief. So my kind of journey is like this. I started practicing, and when you start practicing and you kind of like, whatever you're taught in the beginning, it's like concrete. No one can budge you. And you will justify your own position even though you don't know the evidences. You will justify your own position, and anyone tries to argue, they're not going to get through to you.
Yeah.
So it was like that kind of, I had that kind of mentality in the beginning. Then when I started studying, and then obviously you're exposed to different opinions, even within like your sort of orientation of understanding Islam, you're exposed to opinions. That's when I slowly started to think to myself, everything that I've been taught, like, is that something which is now subject to me thinking about it and questioning it? Yeah, in an academic way. So that was one of the things, yeah. And then I think the serious time when I first interestingly in our madrasa, there was actually a lot of foreign students there, and foreign students, most of them were like Shafis, Malikis, and a few Hanbalis.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we were in the room and they started discussing things, they would like bring Shafi. They would eat crab in front of us, crabs, and all the different, because for them it's like fine, and their beards would be short, but according to Shafi madhab, short beards are totally fine. So that I was
Musab,
like,
what about those Molanas that you come across, right? That like will defend the Hanafi madhab through the lens of every other madhab. So be like, yeah, but the Shafi opinion, they say that you have to have a big beard as well. And so like they will go on with that with every angle that they come out with. So like, and I give you an example where it can go drastically wrong. If you come from one of those communities, right, and you follow particular types of scholars, and you learn about you view the world through their eyes. When you go to somewhere like university, you're like looking at people and thinking they don't know their own religion. So your first year, second year at university, you're looking at them thinking that guy ain't got a beard. He's like, yeah, he's praying, but he doesn't really get it.
yeah.
Like he doesn't get it like we get it.
Oh, like when you see that guy praying in a suit and you think, you know what? If only he prayed in a salwar kameez, man. If only he wore a jubba, the salat would have been so nice. Like one
He
of those
turned
kind of
down the
ones.
role of police officer because they didn't let him wear salwar kameez.
Yeah.
But then it makes you do strange things like you won't pray behind people that have a shorter beard.
Yeah. I just to, might as well be honest. I was at one time where I used to kind of see someone who wore like had a short beard and wore like a shirt and trousers and prayed, and I'd probably have reservations of praying behind him. Not because it wasn't because I had studied the masala or anything. It was simply because that I was kind of like brought up to understand in my initial practicing era, that this kind of person, mashallah, is a good guy, everything, but you know what? Is that clothing was so important to me that it kind of overshadowed everything else about this person. He could have had a good akhlaq, beautiful way of speaking to you, very patient, very thankful. Guy gets up for tahajjud as well, yeah. But you know what? It was that kind of clothing thing that kind of let everything down. And then you see, I think people come across a hurdle in life. In their practicing era, there's always this one hurdle or there's always one rock they come across. Once they overcome that hurdle, everything else starts to change. And you see this in all forms of people who start off very like, generally when you start practicing, you start off very like rough. And then it slowly starts to like, mellow you down. Now, I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I personally think that's a lot of people experience this kind of approach. So
I think you get that interaction where you go to like places where you're exposed to different people in it. It's like when you go to university, that's where I had my first kind of like exposure to other people and different opinions. And you were like questioning, you could see the guy was really, really sincere. And you could kind of like gain that from his own presence that he was very timid and nice and praises Salah on time and so on and so forth. And you're kind of looking at his character like that, but then you're like, but you know what, he ain't got a full beard. So what you'd try to do is that you would push somebody with a bigger beard to the front to lead Salah, and you wouldn't feel comfortable reading behind people. And I think that was ingrained in you. Like I remember somebody said, and I can't remember, somebody said this to an Arab at university. So the guy had a shorter beard, and they go to him, we can't read namaz behind you because you're a fasik. The Arab lost his mind. He actually got really, really angry. He's like, you don't even understand Arabic. You don't even understand what you just said to me.
Yeah, so, it sounds ridiculous now when we say it to each other, but it's like there will be people out there. I mean, this all goes into the issue. Although this wasn't really the main theme of the podcast today, but I think it's relevant because it kind of goes into how do you interact with someone who follows a different school of thought or follows a different scholar's opinions, right? It's like, okay, you come across someone who has a shorter beard than you, or you might come across, let's say, a particular individual, and they might hold certain views regarding some scholars. Maybe they follow I don't know, some modern sort of like approach in how they understand. Automatically, it's like the reaction is that this guy's deviant. It's like, first of all, you call him a deviant, and then once you get to know him, then you kind of like slowly give him another card. Okay, he's okay. Yeah. He's a deviant. Yes, he's okay, but you can't pray behind him. So I think people naturally are trying to be careful of their religion. It's a natural thing we have inside of ourselves. we want to be very careful in our religion. The only problem is we don't have that balance to know when do we take, like when should we be cautious? Like when do we use cautiousness, and when do we use like the fatwa that we've learnt? Yeah. So like you gave the example, that brother must have been hurt. Yeah. I mean, I've come across people. People have said, for example, like, oh, you know, we don't want to pray behind this guy because he studied in a particular like madrasa, right?
Yeah.
He belongs to a particular, you know, group or something. I've heard that, and sometimes it's kind of annoyed me inside because I know the guy does not know what he's talking about. He's just like, you know, parroting what he's heard, and he doesn't even realize what he's saying. Like in reality, if he kind of said it out loud to himself 10 times, it doesn't make sense what you're saying. Like, it doesn't seem to be the thing which the Prophet ﷺ would teach the Sahaba to argue with each other about, right? That the size of his beard, don't pray behind him. It's like what you said about the sandcastle issue, the example. That's a good example, which is like, okay, you never have one example in the time of Sahaba that one Sahabi didn't pray behind another because of the size of his beard. Not even one, right? So it's like, okay, it's not from their era. So it's like a concept that they've come out with, but then it's like from that concept, they've extended it to other things now. So it's like, you know, right, this is my understanding. Now, my understanding extended to this. So I think if people understood how far should we go with my understanding, like to what extent are you going to use my understanding to interact with other people? This actually became a very bad thing in like, you know, like in this, Hijri is going to be, how is it going to work out? You know, like in the modern Gregorian calendar, it's like 1300s, 1400s. It became so bad that one madhab would not marry into another madhab. They would say, no, you can't, because what he believes about salat is against what you believe about salat.
Yeah.
You believe reading Fatiha is wajib and he believes it's fard. How can you get married to them? Does that make sense? And then when you step back, like really back, or I'll give you a better one. When you talk to a non-Muslim, you don't want to bring these things up. It feels embarrassing. And when a non-Muslim says to you, would you pray behind that guy that's got a short beard? He's a Muslim as well. Oh, you know what? No, you won't. And then you feel like inside, oh, how am I going to explain this? The reason is because, you know,
He's trimmed it to less than a fistful today, but tomorrow it might grow back and one hair might extend over. Like, you know, like I don't even know how you govern that kind of. There's a person who said something interesting on Facebook. He said, how about praying behind someone who has wiped over cotton socks? There has to be a line. Or
Yeah.
sorry, he didn't say there has to be a line. There is a line.
So okay, so this would
Before
go.
you answer that, Mufti, I'm sorry to interrupt. I've actually seen people get into almost a physical confrontation because of this issue, where it got such heated where one brother was saying to the other brother that...
Was so heated, he took his cotton socks off.
He knocked his cotton socks off, yeah, indeed. I like that one, you know. That was quite witty, that.
Socks.
So yeah,
Socks
so he had to
and-
wash his feet anyway, and it all became halal. MashaAllah, what an ending to a story, brother.
Allahu Akbar. Cool him down, man.
But that
Cool
was
him
the
down.
serious one, you know. People refuse to pray behind people that wipe over their socks.
Yeah, I've heard of this so many times. And it's like, I remember this one case. This guy told me, he goes, the Imam of the mosque, I'm not going to say the name of the city, because then maybe a lot of people will find out who that person was. But it's a particular city. The Imam wasn't there, yeah? The Imam's son was there. But the Imam's son didn't go forward. So a particular Muslim, right, who follows the opinion that wiping over normal socks is allowed, he went forward and he prayed. The Imam came late, so he joined the Salat. And when he finished, he saw that it's that guy leading. So you know what he did? He went in front of everyone and said, everyone repeat your Salats. He wiped over his socks. Like in front of everyone. So, see, this kind of issue, I'll give you a narration. In Abu Dawood, there's a narration where Abdullah bin Mas'ud, his view was that if you're a traveler, you have to shorten your prayer. You must shorten your prayer, yeah? So if you're a traveler, you must shorten your prayer. Like, you know, Dhuhr, you shorten it to 2 rakats, Asr 2 rakats, Isha 2 rakats, yeah? So he went for Hajj, and with Abdullah ibn Mas'ud were some of his students. So the Imam that was leading was Uthman radiallahu anhu. Uthman, despite being a traveler, according to many, he prayed 4 rakats of Dhuhr. Prayed 4 rakats. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud prays behind him, And after the prayer finishes, he calls, the students call Abdullah Masud, say to him, Ustad, how's this? You told us it's necessary to shorten your prayer. And you prayed behind Uthman, who's a traveler, and he prayed 4. So Ibn Masud said, I think this is why, Sahaba radiallahu anhum were more mature about the religion than, unfortunately, many of us. He said to him, look, going against him is going to cause more of a problem. Like publicly going against him. As in, what I understand from Ibn Masud's statement was this. He was saying there's a place for our ikhtilafs. And there's a place that we shouldn't be using the ikhtilafs. And in Hajj, in Mina, in one of the biggest gatherings in the entire year, this isn't a time to bring up your, personal fiqh sort of like issues. So this is like a very beautiful example again for how Muslims, I think, ultimately should be dealing with, like when we talk about opinions which are not concrete from the original sources, like wiping over cotton socks. This is not a concrete issue, and there is like plausibility for ikhtilaf. Does that make sense? It's plausibility for ikhtilaf, as in, what do we consider to be concrete? It's like 5 times salat is concrete. If anyone says that there's only 4 salats in Islam, you this is a person which I would say don't pray behind this person, because this is like a concrete thing. No one can really defend this. So the concrete things in Islam, things which are absolutely what they call qat'i, those are the things in which if there's any difference. And as for where there is scope for difference of opinion, I think that is something that we need to educate people. Right? Look, there's difference of opinion here. And one of the things I liked about COVID-19, is COVID-19.
Okay, this is where are we going with this one, Nav? What's the minute of this talk at the moment? So we're about 35, 40 minutes in now.
So one thing I like about COVID-19 before I was interrupted there is
carrying on, Nav.
COVID-19, what COVID-19 done was it mellowed people down. See, when COVID-19 happened, like there were some people who are very strict on the issue of how far you can stand away from each other in salat. As soon as COVID-19 happened, the disputes burst, right? The debates. But then after a while, you can't do anything because end of the day, government's kind of implemented the policy. So it kind of makes people realize, was it worth fighting with each other because of how far your feet are from the other person's feet? Or the same thing.
Shaitan thought it was a booby trap because it was too easy, because they're just too far apart. He goes, this must be a booby trap. I'm not going to come here.
And I mean, you see what happens then? It just kind of like says, you know what? When times are difficult, we need to put our ikhtilafs to one side and we need to try to get on with each other. Yeah? You know what I'm saying? Like when 50% discount comes, forget all the ikhtilafs. Everyone just stand in rows in front of the shops. Yeah.
SubhanAllah, that was mad, man. I went to Ladypool Road on one of the days. That was an experience, man. I thought they're giving away the food for free at one stage, man. It's so busy. But then you understand that it moves to stop because it's expensive for families to go out to eat as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Someone asked a question, why does beard length determine who to pray? So, see, it's not about the beard. The beard's length is not a condition in salat. The issue is what's the ruling of cutting the beard? Yeah. The idea is that you pray behind someone who does not commit an open act of sin. Now, this is what the fuqaha mentioned. If there's someone who openly drinks alcohol, you don't pray behind him. Why? Simply because if he's not considerate about obedience to Allah in public, why would he be considerate about his prayer? So it makes sense, logical, that you don't pray behind such a guy. So the idea is not that beard is a condition of salat. The idea is that this guy will openly, cut his beard. So some of the scholars took that to mean that this person would be an open sinner because he's gone against the words of
transgressor.
Yeah. And so it's like, so this is what I'm saying, that these kind of issues are based like the sandcastle. There's a good example there. It's a kind of sandcastle issue. Yeah, it's like, it's not the original sort of like matter in Islam. It's kind of extended from something extended. And then people use that as a means to kind of like try to, measure people's uprightness, right? Which is unfair as well.
People's beards. I thought you were going to say the muftasat.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of these kind of things in our community. I think that we have to be very careful of how to use fatwa. It's a very dangerous. And the other thing I was going to say is this, because I forgot. Fatwa websites, I am totally against fatwa websites, right? And I think this is the worst innovation that's ever come. And the reason is because the amount of sort of confusion that fatwa websites has created in the minds of people who are untrained in how to read fatwa. It's like basically imagine a doctors all of a sudden opened medicine websites, right? And they had like an alphabetical. You can go through all categories, right? What's your illness? Or illness and pain. Okay, what kind of pain is it? All right. Question: I have a pain in my, below my rib, yeah, on my right hand side. What's the answer to this? Okay, A answer is that if you have a pain over here, then take paracetamols. I mean, no doctor would say that because the doctor knows that there's going to be out of 100 people who read that answer, there's going to be at least half of them who will misread into it, yeah, and misunderstand this. So this is why I'm against these fatwa websites, because it's giving people access to raw information which has not been contextualized for the public, and that is a very dangerous thing. I mean, when we were on radio, if you remember, we the biggest mistake we used to always make was you have to, if you mention any sort of medical sort of like advice, you must say, I don't know how many times was it, that please speak to your doctor. Do not.
Please speak to your doctor. The people here on the radio station are not medically trained, and
Yeah.
you need to go to somebody, because you're giving advice on people. You can't give general advice on something like diabetes in Ramadan. Like the only advice you can give about diabetes in Ramadan is go check with your doctor. That's the only advice you can really give, because everybody's conditions are like very, very different. And so we would be answering a question and be like, oh no, we gotta come back and say, we gotta go back to the original thing, and have that discussion. But I think kind of like what happened, Nev?
SubhanAllah, I just discovered how the charger on the MacBook works. And I was
Magnetic.
just like,
Allah. When I first, and let me tell you a story about that. When I first found out about this Mac, I was trying to pull the wire out and it wasn't coming out. And I was thinking, oh, what's this, man? These guys, Mac guys, have messed everything up. Then one day I realized all you have to do is just tilt it to the side. The magnet, it disconnects from the other side. And that's it.
The new ones don't have MagSafe.
They don't?
Nah, USB Type-C.
Ah, that's rubbish. Why?
Because, I don't know, they got rid of MagSafe.
If you
I've
were
got it
to
on my
buy
old
a
MacBook.
now,
Pardon?
what's the best MacBook to buy at the moment?
16-inch MacBook.
Is that the bigger one?
No, sorry.
Wait for
Best MacBook depends what you need it for.
Yeah. Wait. If you want to get a MacBook, just wait till next year. The new technology is coming. So they're going to be moving away from Intel and they're going to be coming out with their own designed chips.
Same as the iPhone, iPad.
Yeah, so if you want to wait for something, it's rather wait for that.
Well,
But they're
that's
gonna
what-
have they got about 3 more
Yeah.
Intel. They got more Intel computers coming out this year and next year, Mufti Sahib. Yeah, they're gonna run them side by side until they basically refine their own one, and then they're gonna just run off with their own one. Because the Intel chips are more expensive and they're worse with what do you call it, their battery life.
Going back to the subject of today, have you noticed, like, I'm seeing more of a trend now. I don't know if you guys share a similar experience, where people no longer identify themselves as a Barelvi or a Deobandi, for instance. People will just say, I am Sunni Muslim and I follow the Hanafi madhab, and they leave it at that. Have you seen a rise in this kind of categorization, for instance, Mufti Saab? Or do you think that people still are clenching onto the titles that they,
Not really. I mean, I don't know. Maybe my circles, I'm not really kind of exposed to all different types of circles. I mean, I personally do not affiliate myself to any name which is not a functional name. If it's a functional name, I'll attribute myself to it. So, for example, obviously, I follow the Hanafi madhab. That's a functional name that kind of defines the approach I take when I try to understand the Sharia. That makes sense. But besides that, I don't see there to be any sort of benefit if there's no function to it. Like if it's just to affiliate yourself to a club, because you go to a particular club, you don't go around to the streets saying, you know what, I belong to this golf club, I belong to this club. I don't see it as that. So sometimes I do get some people who kind of see my statements as being condescending towards maybe Deobandi or something. I've got no issue with this. because Deobandi itself is a very sort of like gray area. How do you define what Deobandi means? Yeah, so this is why I think, I don't see there being any benefit in affiliating yourself to Brelvi or to Deobandi or to, for that matter, for anything, unless it's functional. If it has a particular function, right? If someone says, for example, oh, this guy is a UK Hanafi. Okay, I mean, that makes sense because living in the UK and it's something which is going to influence the way I see things
Yeah.
and it's going to influence the answers. That's fine.
And I think a lot of people are moving towards that anyway, Mufti Saab, and they're taking a similar approach to yourself.
I think they've moved even further away. I think kind of like the layperson just identifies as Muslim.
Yeah. Like, to be
I think
honest,
getting more and more of that.
my family,
Yeah.
in my whole relatives, I think there's probably only one or two people who understand this term that exists, Deobandi or Brelvi. Yeah. No one else, they don't even know it. They're just like neutral Muslims. You know, you get kind of neutral kind of Muslim. They're like
Innocent.
neutral Muslims.
No, they're not neutral Muslims. Muslim, they're Google Muslims.
Oh,
Whatever the
yeah.
algorithm throws to the top of the search is what type of Muslim they are.
No, whatever the organization pays for the clicks.
Whoever's got the best, what do you call it, keywords and keyword matching on their website is the winner in madhab and fiqh.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just use these labels for ulterior motives. It's not. I don't think it's a sincere sort of like issue. It's either to kind of react to someone else. Someone has said something against your club, so you're reacting to that. And in order for you to like sometimes when someone says to me, "Oh, but you know what? I'm Deobandi," and I'm saying, "Okay, well, what does it mean to be Deobandi? Like, how has it kind of given you in your life?" They go, "No, oh, it's the elders of Deoband. It's their approach I'm following." But then you say, "Okay, can you list for me what's their approach? Like, what is their approach? What is their approach different from like scholars before them?" So I think these are issues where I'm sure you're gonna get Braillevis who are in the same sort of category as well. You're gonna get some Brailles who are on this word I've used it a third time today, spectrum. Yeah, you're gonna have these kind of very hardcore Braillevis, right? Who will consider Deobandis to be. I've heard some of these. Unfortunately, I mean, I've come across people who have said to me, "Please don't mention to other Braillevis that I contact you." Yeah. So, because they're living in circles.
You're my dirty secret.
Which no, but you feel sorry for them at the end of the day. You feel sorry for them because they're like trapped in this pressure. They're trapped. And how do you kind of deal with that? I try to keep a straight face there.
Nav, it's very difficult to do with Nav hiding behind his topi, man.
Yeah, so I think it's just, you get it on both sides. And there's many Braillevis who are very, mellow in that sense. And they can get on with other organizations, other groups. And I think it's and same with Salafis. You're going to have some Salafis who are very harsh approach. Some that I think are very mellow, who can get on with other people. And for many people, I think it's just a journey. Some people, the age is a journey. Some people, it's, the circles they go around in. It's just a journey. And that journey just, mellows you down, changes your perspective on how you look at other people's.
So I was fortunate enough. I was brought up in a house, half Deobandi, half Braillevi house.
Allahu Akbar. So how does that work then?
Just explains my confusion now, innit? I'm joking.
Does that mean you go in the house, you got half Deobandi flags and half Braillevi flags?
Only half the house is decorated in Rabiul
Allahu Akbar.
No, I think it was Nav just can't help himself laughing. I think it was interesting with stuff because I could appreciate both of them because like my grand used to do like niyaz and stuff like that, and my dad would that wasn't his thing. But as when you're growing up in that kind of environment, you can kind of take the best of both of it, and you can see like it's not exactly how other people, on that spectrum you're talking about. You're not at that loggerheads part of it. You're at that kind of more of the emerging part of it. And one of the amazing things, I found my late Nana's books. So he was one of the founders of Saddam. He bought 23 Arden Road, and he passed away like within a couple of days of creating the Wuzu Khana in 23 Arden Road.
MashaAllah.
So back in the 1970s, he passed away.
Whoa.
So he was run over on his way back from Tarawih.
Subhanallah.
So he passed away, but we got to go through all of his kitabs. And if you lined up his kitabs, right, they confuse you. Because at that stage, I was like very much like, what was he like? I was trying to figure that out. What was he like? And he had the full spectrum of kitabs. Like you pick up one kitab, you're like, yeah, I know where this is going. You pick up the second one, I know where this is going. You pick up the third one, like, I'm lost. Why has it got this? I'd go to my grandma, auntie, and these like, say, what was he thinking? Like, where was he with? And he was like, he used to read everything.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. And that's where we got that for us from, is like, actually, it might be a little bit more to this than what everybody's giving you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's maybe something which, for many families, they don't really have that privilege, where they have someone in their family who has this sort of maybe a balanced approach, and that's all it takes. If you look, for example, in Birmingham now, who is more prominently known in the public sphere as being head Deobandi? Yeah, like for example, if you look at Sheikh Zaid, for instance, he studied in Deobandi madrasa, but listen to his talks, you'll hear nothing in his talks that indicates any sort of sectarian sort of. And likewise, Sheikh Muhammad Aslam, you won't find anything in his posts or anything that kind of has a dig or any sort of indication towards, Deobandis or anything in that way. Very sort of like a neutral sort of approach in these kind of ways. At the moment, they're popular. Who knows? Maybe in a few years' time, maybe someone else will come on the scene, and they might, tilt the scales towards something else. So
what's that famous book, Mufti Saab, from Imam Abdullah ibn Wahab? Is it called Kitab al-Tawheed, I think?
Yeah, it's Kitab al-Tawheed.
I remember going to IPCI once, yeah, and there was Kitab al-Tawheed, yeah. Right next to it was a book called Obliteration of Falsehood. And I don't think that the guys knew what they were doing when they put them together, but both books were a refutation of each other.
Oh.
Almost selling them as a dual pack.
Yeah.
I was like, this will confuse the hell out of anyone.
That's capitalism for you. That's capitalism. Capitalism.
Put them in together. Somebody's asked a good question online, and I got a really good answer for this, but I'm going to let you guys answer it first. He goes, what do you think about scholars on social media holding debates with other scholars with the idea of defending Islam?
Yeah, that's a good one. What do you guys?
Well, I'm not a scholar, so I can't answer this.
What do you guys say?
What do you think of scholars? I think it's a waste of time, because what they do is that they have 45 meetings beforehand to arrange a pre-meeting of the pre-meeting, and then they have to bring all their books with them, right? Which is a waste of petrol, because you have to bring your books. I don't know why none of them got a Kindle, or why none of these books are on a Kindle or something, but I just think it's a spectacle as opposed to, like you have to bring. If you were to go to a debate, you'd have to empty out all your shelves, and you'd have to take your kitabs with you. It means you have to organize 2 cars. Petrol.
You gotta wish there's parking there. You know how I see it? I'll tell you how I see it. How I see online debating. I see online debating like 2 guys who have had a fight, in a mosque. And then what's happened is they've gone outside and they've called everyone to watch them to have a fight. And then they've told everyone, this is, I'm defending Islam. The other one's, I'm defending Islam. It's like one of those kind of ones. It's like when it comes to
discuss the principles for the principles of the principles.
And the people who are interested in these debates, the audience, okay, who's interested in these kind of things? First of all, it's someone who is clearly, sporting one of the 2 sides. Yeah. So someone who's supporting side A, let's say, they're gonna watch it, and someone who's supporting side B, they're gonna watch it, right? Okay. So supporters. Who else is gonna watch it? Those people who are simply just interested in hearing what's going to happen. They're not interested in joining one side, right? They're just spectators. It's like those guys who go to a football match between Manchester United and Liverpool. They don't support Man United, they don't support Liverpool, and they're simply there just because they want to see the reaction on both the supporters' faces. Yeah. What's the Liverpool going to say if the Man United scores, or it's just like that for a lot of people. I am totally not interested in any debate at all, 100%. And I remember many of my teachers when I was in Madrasa, they say to us, if you're going to get into debates, you know what, you might as well stop studying. because debating, there's no benefit for it. And if you're gonna, who are you defending Islam from? Like,
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Have you heard that in debates? That's all they say. And speakers
no,
gonna
listen to me. Listen to me. Let me tell you what this book says. Let me tell you.
Listen to me.
Let me tell you what this book says.
Listen, listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Look, I got this. Listen to me.
I watched.
I watched one video, right? I must have posted
Oh,
about
mashallah,
it.
Beamer Bays has donated £1 to the channel. Mashallah, Beamer Bays. Check out Beamer Bays' channel, yeah. Beamer Bays killed the 50% offers, yeah. He's gone in London, he's gone to these burger places and he's eaten the burgers and he's kind of like made us salivate, yeah, just watching him. Yeah, and I've told Beamer Bays that if he does that again, yeah, every time he does that, Beamer, from now on, yeah, I'm going to tell you now, then you got to do a dinner for all three of us. Yeah, each time that happens.
I look forward to that.
That's
You know, when it comes to the debates, I'll say one thing though. Like, obviously, I'm not like clued up on any of the subjects that half of the time that they're debating, like istighatha and things like that, without mentioning. Oh, okay, I might as well mention their names now that I've mentioned the debate. But these are subjects that, with all due respect to the people that are debating, and you know, that they feel like they're defending their particular understanding or school or whatever, much more clued up people than these guys, much more senior in knowledge people, had these discussions with each other and they couldn't convince the other party. So what makes you guys think that you're going to bring it to a public platform, to an audience which is built up of 70% of people that are not even going to comprehend what you're talking about? They're only there just for the entertainment and the memes that come out of it at the end. What good have you done? And if somebody's interested in Islam and maybe they've come across an issue where like they're not too sure about, and they happen to Google something and you're the video that comes up, your debate video, and they're like this and they're like, come on, like.
Mashallah, Musa Ahmad, brother Musa Ahmad has donated £5 to the channel. Allahu Akbar. Jazakallah khair. Brother Musa, mashallah, may Allah reward you immensely.
Do you get what I mean, Altaf?
You know what the funny thing is, Nav?
Can I say something there?
One guy,
Can I say something there? Sorry.
Go on.
You know what you just said there? Yeah, what you just said there, that just sums up the whole issue. The whole issue over here, why do people debate for? I mean, if you think about it, when was the last time you benefited from a debate? Think about it. Seriously, how did it bring you closer to Allah? How did it? Which debate?
When you said it benefited you, Mufti Sahib, I was going to say yes, and then you said it brought you closer to Allah. I was going to say no.
Exactly.
I saw a literalist, somebody who was such a literalist, Mufti Sahib, try to explain a metaphor. It was the best YouTube I'd watched for 30 seconds. Was amazing. This guy was such a literalist, right? And all his debates, he's a literalist. He's known as a literalist. And then he got called out for making a metaphor because everybody in his audience thought he was a literalist. So when he said something, he meant it. It was hilarious.
Yeah. No, you know, someone asked you a good question. Why do they teach Munazara Rashidiyya in Alim course? Yeah, that's a good point, that is. Why do they teach mathematics in school for? Why do they teach, you know, philosophy or what? The whole point of teaching debating in a madrasa is not to go out and humiliate another person. That's where the people misunderstood it. So it's like, you know, someone who taught someone how to, you know, use an axe to chop wood, right? That's a good thing. But then when you use that axe to threaten other people in the community, that's wrong. So debating is basically a way of trying to articulate yourself. That's what debating is. Yeah, you articulate yourself to try and break down other people's arguments. It's not to humiliate. And I think Allah knows best the intentions of the people who do these things. But I think, you know, these people are simply doing it because when you do something public on social media, you want public reaction. Sincerity goes out the door. Yeah. Like if you're saying to someone, I want to have a public debate with you, why are you saying that for? Because there's nothing. If you want sincerity, you go behind closed doors. You don't have no cameras or no nothing. You talk to each other, right? And you can settle it there. No one else wants to know about, you know, this issue. Everyone knows, like you just said, done and dusted. It's about humiliation. A lot of these people want public humiliation of people. And this is what, you know, you see Islamophobes doing this a lot. You know, when that guy was eating the page of the Quran. He wanted public reaction. That's what he wants. He's not going to go behind closed doors and eat Quran paper. Who's going to do that? No one's going to do that. The idea is that he wants humiliation. He wants Muslims to react. He wants people to say you're an evil person. That's why he likes. And this is what happens with a lot of people on social media. They simply want a reaction. And like I said, it's that supporters, isn't it? It's like some people are just watching it. Let's see what the Deobandis say now. Look at this attack he's got on the Deobandis. Oh, that meme where you have those guys having a rap battle. And that one guy says something, all of a sudden they all fall on each other. Yeah? That's what it is. And a famous statement of, Imam Abu Hanifa. When Abu Hanifa's son was going to debate someone. Abu Hanifa said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm debating. He goes, no, don't. He said, well, you debated all your life? He goes, yeah, we used to debate because we wanted the other person to see the truth. He goes, but now you people want the other person to fall. That's the difference. It's a mindset. So debating per se is not wrong in Islam. The Quran is filled with debating with, people who have, false beliefs. The idea is, do you need to debate with someone who is like Muslim? Yeah, do you need to debate with that person? So I think that's where the problem lies. Bima again has donated one. MashaAllah, can you bros tell Ayan to go to bed? What's Uncle Liaquat for the talks? Waits for Uncle Liaquat for talks. Bima, come on, bro. Let Ayan, okay, Ayan, yeah. You can stay up for 5 more minutes, yeah. Let him stay 5 minutes. 5 more minutes. So this is Bima's son, yeah. Let him stay up for 5 minutes, bro. Yeah. And then Ayan, yeah, go to sleep. Yeah. And then next week, inshallah, you can come back on.
Give me 1 second.
So yeah. So I think that's where the problem lies. I think it's the idea of, and the other issue I think is that some people who start practicing, they see like one of the pillars of Islam being debating. Yeah, it's like, what's the pillars of Islam, bro? Oh, shahada, salat, zakat, yeah, fasting, hajj, and what else? Oh, debating. It's like it becomes so ingrained inside of some communities. It's like the only way you have to refute. Like some communities have this like mentality, one of the pillars of Islam is refutation. You must refute everyone. If you don't refute, you can never be a true Muslim. And likewise, I think this is a debating
Islam
issue.
in Hyde Park, Mufti Saab. If you're in Hyde Park at one of these debates and you accepted Islam, then you're going to have that kind of mindset, isn't it? That, part and parcel of your religion is to learn all the arguments that prove that Islam is the correct religion. And for me to be a good Muslim, I need to learn all of this and also do the exact same thing what someone did for me.
Yeah.
And thinking that's the only form of giving dawah or serving the religion.
Exactly. Definitely. Totally agree with you. And to me, it's just a toxic element in the community. Yeah, and it's not nice to say, obviously, but it's just ruining our community from the inside out. And
bigger giants have wrote about these subjects and amicably refuted each other, in an amicable manner, in an academic manner, and they haven't been able to convince the other party. What makes you think that a 2-hour or a 5-hour or a 10-hour video with all the cronies, chanting and clapping or whatever is going to change anything?
And
these opinions have existed for over 1,000 years.
Exactly, that's it. It's a club mentality, isn't it? It just leads to a club mentality, group mentality. And the other thing now, which I don't know if you kind of like seeing it, is quite kind of like, it's a kind of like I don't know what do you call that word? It's like trying to show that they're so sincere to Allah that this is the last resort that they'll go to, which is like, let's both swear whoever's wrong, they're going Jahannam. One of those kind of ones. It's mubahala. And you'll see people actually kind of and you're thinking to yourself, subhanAllah, is it that easy just to kind of swear this? Is it that easy just to swear, if I'm wrong, I'll go Jahannam, and if you're wrong, you go Jahannam? Yeah, subhanAllah, like people have taken the name of Allah, these important things in our life to be like, have no value anymore. And it's sad because when youth see this kind of thing, the youth, they just, they just kind of like become, they feel a sense of disparagement from Muslims. Yeah. And they just think to themselves, no, is this Islam? Islam is just arguing with each other, and Islam has got so much to give. I mean, this kind of Hyde Park thing, Speaker's Corner, a lot of the guys who subscribe to the channel, they know my view on, this kind of debating kind of thing. I personally don't like debating at all, unless it's a situation where like something has created a big problem in society and it's reached such a level where someone has to speak about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and has to
Don't get
kind
me
of.
wrong, Sam. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But you know, when there are some open Islamophobes that make a money and a career of demonizing Muslims and propagating in such a certain way, that sometimes that you do need that one odd Muslim brother that stands up for the cause and debates them in an academic manner, like like somebody like Hamza or somebody like that, or like Sheikh Ahmadi Dat rahimullah, how he would do it. There's a need for that kind of debate. I'd say that when it comes part and parcel, but debating over every other little thing, like why do we need to see a conversation like between a Zaidi and a so and so? Why is that? Why does that occupy our newsfeed? Like, why do I need to know that?
Maybe it's a good question to ask the viewers. Like, when if you guys watch debates, why do you watch debates for? Like, what's the reason to watch the debate? Is it like your kind of like a hobby to watch debates? Are you kind of like, is it a fetish? You like watching debates? It gives you a buzz. Yeah, you
But
can't like
often, I will say that sometimes discussions turn into debates really quickly. Some people probably go for a discussion and it probably does turn into a debate, even though that person doesn't want to. But that
but
happens.
see, the issue I would have with this, with someone who has studied for a certain number of years, I would have with this is if there's ever two people who are going to argue over something, the limit of their argument is going to be what they truly know about Islam. The limit of everyone's argument, like I would never watch a debate of someone who hasn't studied Islam like at a certain level. There's no point because I know the kind of arguments he's going to come out with are very second-hand arguments. He's kind of like borrowed things from other people. He's just using parrots and things that he's parroted. And that wouldn't be something which obviously you would even listen to. But what I would listen to is like me. If there was a particular type of debate, I would listen to a debate regarding something like a debate regarding that issue of like evolution. Yeah, there was it wasn't a debate. It was more of a kind of what would you call it? What's that word? Discussion. Is it discussion? Yeah. It's more like a discussion, an open discussion.
Disagreement, let's just even call
Yeah.
it.
So one person gives their views, and then another person stands up, then gives their views, and then you have the other person. And the kind of debates that we're seeing between Muslim sort of figures in our community, it's more like humiliation. Like they butt into each other. It's like those kind of like radio presenters, some of the radio presenters who kind of like are talking to each other and they're like fighting over who's gonna speak on the mic. It's like one saying something and the other one's, before they can finish their sentence, the other one jumps in and says something, and then the other one jumps in and says something, and it just seems so unprofessional. It seems so immature.
I'm sorry, I can't help but saying this one though. I was listening to a lecture recently. I'm not going to mention who the lecturer was by, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but he did say something profound, and it made me think as well. He said that one of the groups that are very much well known for building their platform by throwing others under the bus and refuting them on every Tom, Dick, and Harry thing. The leader of this particular group doesn't even have a grasp of the Arabic language properly. Yet they themselves claim to be the only guys that are upon truth. Like that made me think a lot. That like, how can you be led by somebody that doesn't even understand the Quran properly? Can't speak Arabic properly. This is the leader of your group, and all your group is teaching is hatred. And what's happening in the debates and everything is the same thing that's happening again, isn't it, Mufti Saab, at a smaller scale? But you see, sometimes you have to just step back a bit and you think that, like, guys, how will you strengthen your Islam by proving that other people's Islam is weak? How does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying, Mufti Saab? Does that am I making sense?
And ultimately what it does is, people who are, just out there scheming to undermine Islam, it's just fuel for them. They just listen to these debates, take out things that are taken out of context in most cases, and they'll just say, oh, look, even Muslims can't agree upon this, and then it just weakens other people's faith, in Islam itself and in Muslims. And I think that is probably the biggest downfall to this debate culture that we have amongst youngsters.
One of the scariest things I see, Mufti Saab, is that when people differ with each other, it's clear that a lot of people haven't studied Quran in the context it was revealed, because they'll use an ayah that isn't even actually meant for a fellow Muslim. It's meant for a particular
Yeah,
type of person at
yeah,
a particular type, a particular time,
definitely.
and they'll use that against someone in a debate. And I'll be thinking to myself, Subhanallah, you took it there, like that wasn't even. How can you use that against a Muslim? And you're just shocked.
It's just amazing, isn't it? It's how people will stoop to just to kind of fulfill their. I mean, this is again following your desire at the end of the day.
Yeah,
You know,
I've often
you know
heard this.
me. Let me
Yeah,
tell you. I'll give you one story here of. I don't like debating at all, but you know sometimes when someone really ticks you off, and you got to put them in their place.
yeah,
Yeah. So with full insincerity, when I debate, I go into full insincerity mode. Yeah. And you know, unfortunately, what tends to happen sometimes is you have an upper hand and you feel you can humiliate the other person. You know, when you get that kind of, and you
yeah,
know, I will say, you know, I've been in a few situations where I have said something which is quite condescending to the other person, and I shouldn't have said that in the debate, right? And I've apologized after the debate, and I said, look, I shouldn't have said that at all. That was totally wrong. We're off on a tangent, and I see this in a lot of debates where people enjoy this moment of sort of like limelight, and they just use that opportunity to humiliate the other person. So once this guy, remember a long time ago, there used to be this thing called Yahoo Chat, Yahoo
yeah, yeah,
groups. And there
yeah,
was like these Muslim groups, and you went on there, and you
yeah,
start
yeah, I
debating with
remember.
people, and you thought, "Whoa, yes, I've got power. First time now, I can prove Islam." Yeah, you learn your few, you know. So anyway, this one guy contacted me, and he goes, "I want to speak to you about." He was a guy who basically didn't follow madhab. Yeah. So he goes to me, say the kalima. I go, okay, la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. He goes, where's Abu Hanifa in this kalima? I said, yeah. I didn't understand first of all. Then I realized, oh, I know what this guy's playing at. I go, it's not there. He goes,
Where are the
then
Salaf in the Kalama?
why do you follow him? And I was thinking to myself, you know what? It's like those moments where you're thinking to yourself, is it worth it? Like you're trying to calculate in your mind, is it worth it now
Did you go
speaking
Broadway
with
school on him, Mufti Saab?
Have
Mufti
I
Saab,
got
did you
time?
go? Mufti Saab, did you go Broadway school on him?
you know, almost. Let me tell you what happened. So basically, I said to the guy, I go, listen, I go, okay, what do you follow? He goes, I follow Quran and Sunnah. I go, okay. Do you know Arabic? He goes, no. I go, okay, then can you change your statement? Say, I follow English Quran and Sunnah. He goes to me, no, I follow Quran and Sunnah. I go, no, you don't. I go, you follow the translation of some guy who's translated the Quran and Sunnah for you. He goes, because I don't know Arabic. I go, well, I'm not saying you don't know Arabic. What I'm saying is be truthful in what you're saying. He goes, okay, I follow English Quran and Sunnah. I go, okay, in that case, that means you follow an interpretation, not the original Quran and Sunnah. You follow interpretation of the Quran and Sunnah, which is not the Quran and Sunnah. So you got to be clear about that. So now redefine what you're saying. He goes, I went so nitty gritty with him on this issue. Eventually, he stopped. He said, look, I'm confused. Because people tell me to say these kind of things. I don't know what to. I apologize for what I've said to you. He goes, I'm really confused. And I go, look, this is why you shouldn't start these kind of things with people. I apologized to him in the way I kind of came across. And, you know, ultimately I felt inside, like, you know, shaitan kind of comes to you and makes you kind of feel, you know what, you can say this, you're in a position where you can humiliate him now. No mercy.
Show him
What
now.
was
Show
that?
him.
What was that? Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Remember Cry Kid?
Guys, on a separate one, Cobra Kai. Yeah, I'm watching it. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's the follow one, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
The follow one.
Is that another Ertugrul?
Yeah, Cobra Kai is like Ertugrul. Yeah.
That all the Muslims are on it, and suddenly there's going to be a restaurant called Cobra Kai.
And they're gonna serve like a snake's gonna come to you.
It's gonna be called Cobra Kai, bro.
You know what? Google that. I bet you that exists. Cobra Kai.
Yeah. So basically, at the end of that, you know what? Inside, you know, when you afterwards you feel that kind of sick feeling inside that it wasn't
Yeah.
worth it. Like, you know you've done wrong. So and I felt that then I don't. That's why I don't like debating with people, because I know I'll just flip it and I'll just start saying things which. So yeah. So that was one of my incidents. Yeah. With.
Sorry to put you on the spot. Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna remember from the top of your head. Often when I've heard people debate and somebody's just trying to make peace amongst certain brothers or whatnot, they'll quote this one story where I think it was the Malikis who met the Shafis or the Hanafis that met the Shafis. One group ended up praying like the other group. Do you know which? Do you know
Yeah,
what I'm talking
it's
about?
it's actually a very common thing to have happened in the past. Like I'll
Can
tell
you
you,
talk us through what happened for those who don't know what I'm
there is
talking about?
actually a narration, a report that Imam Shafi, when he went to the grave of Imam Abu Hanifa
Yeah.
in that mosque, he prayed without raising his hands before and after ruku. And when
Okay.
someone asked him, he said, out of honor of Imam Abu Hanifa. Like he had respect for him. But there's actually a famous incident that occurred with two famous individuals. One was Imam Shirazi, and one was Imam Ad-Damighani. Imam Damighani was like one of the earliest Hanafis. He was a qadi, he was a judge. And there was Imam Shirazi. So it's like around about 300s after Hijri. So basically what happened was Imam Shirazi was the Imam of a mosque. And Imam Damighani happened to pass through. So when he came to the mosque, Imam Shirazi saw him. Despite them having their difference in fiqh, Imam Shirazi told the mu'adhin, give the adhan according to the Hanafi way. So he gave the adhan according to the Hanafi way. And then he told Imam Damighani to lead. So Imam Damighani led, and Imam Damighani prayed in the Shafi way. Yeah, this shows their love for each other.
Yeah.
When you see, in a Hanafi mosque, when you see an Arab leading the salat and he's praying according to the Hanafis, you're thinking, Allah Akbar. Yeah, we've done it, bro. We've done
Then he
it.
slips up. Bechara says Ameen loud, and everybody just awkwardly silent.
So it's like, I think it's the issue is when we want to pick and choose, cherry pick from the Salaf of
And a
how.
good joke then, Mufti Saab. I was going to say that Arab when he reads Walad Zwalin as well.
Interesting. Let me tell you something. We went to Spain. We went to Spain once, and in Cordoba at that time there used to be I think it's the nephew of Sheikh Murabit al-Hajj. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Sheikh Abdul Rahman.
The brother who went, the sheikh that really went, the brother, what am I saying? The sheikh that went viral with that voodoo video.
Yeah, I
That
think
guy,
it's him.
innit?
Yeah. So Sheikh Abdul Rahman, yeah. So he is the leader of that one, and he's a very hardcore Maliki.
Yeah.
Like really, really hardcore. Yasser, yeah. Yasser was praying on a chair, and he shouted at Yasser in front of everyone in the mosque. He goes, sit on the floor. He goes, this is against the sunnah, sitting on a chair. He goes, if you're ill, the Prophet ﷺ said, sit. You don't sit on a chair. So he is very harsh in that opinion. Yasser, every time he went to that mosque, he just said, don't put the chair in me. He sat on the floor straight away. The guy read Quran in Salat, and I swear I could hardly understand what he was reading. Like I could hardly understand. His recitation was like, you're thinking, what is he reading? Is he reading Fatiha? Honestly, his recitation was difficult to understand. The pronunciation. So sometimes when we hear about great scholars who are experts, like not everyone is an expert in recitation. They might be an expert in hadith, or they might be an expert in fiqh, or they might be an expert in. When it comes to recitation, they might not have focused enough time to perfect their recitation. Like the recitation is valid for salat, but it's just that they didn't perfect it.
It's just not easy on the ears.
Yeah, it's not easy on the ears. When I heard
Like playing Tarawih in a
and I
mosque
went to
where the
Sheikh
guy's
Zahid. I
reading
said to Sheikh
fast with
Zahid,
the echo.
I was Sheikh, do you understand what you read? And he said, I didn't understand it.
Sheikh said, Allah loga, paro.
So when we say let's wala zaleen kind of thing in our communities, this is because we see in our communities, we know how it is. But in other communities, you have this. I'm sure in places in in Central Africa, you've got, they've got their own sort of like flaws in recitation. You have in places like North Africa, you got them as well. So anyway, so I think that was an interesting one. Okay, someone's saying, Nav, you make perfect sense, bro. You got to follow a KK. Yeah, whoever KK is, as long as he doesn't have a third K, that's okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Okay, and Sharif saying, from the observation point, the debates give one some analytics on mindsets, Muslim, non-Muslim, and possible solutions. I don't know. I mean, unless you're into philosophy and
I think you should debate the brother about his opinion.
Yeah, Sharif. I know Sharif very well. So Sharif's from America, New Jersey, bro. So Sharif, I kind of disagree on that kind of. I understand some students of knowledge like to listen to debates because they like to see how people come across in explaining their point. Yeah. And okay, fair play. maybe that's a good point.
Is it about learning the angles, Mufti Saab?
Angles, yeah. It's just like it's a kind of like a more like a hobby thing. Yeah, it's like a hobby thing that some people like just looking at new cars or kitted up cars. It's like a hobby thing. It gives
I
them a
have a
little buzz.
confession. I have a
So can
confession.
we advise those people to get new hobbies?
There's one type of debate that I like listening to,
Go on.
Go on.
but it's amongst the main two strands of Muslims. When they have a debate, I don't know why. Maybe it's because when I was younger, I was exposed to some Urdu debates back in the day between them. So maybe I've just picked that up along the way. And sometimes there's a pet peeve. I listen to it, and not that I haven't heard any of the arguments beforehand. And it's always emotional versus text. One team saying, "Yeah, we believe in it because it says in this text," and the other's like, "We don't even believe in that book." And it's always going round and round. But
Yeah, it's one of those kind of like, what do they call it? Ad hominems. It's a lot of ad hominems being used in a lot of debates. It's like character assassination, and it's like trying to, put words in their mouth. Oh, you said this. Look what he said. He said this. You're thinking, no, he didn't. Yeah, he was actually saying this. So yeah.
Building up a straw man to knock it down, innit?
Yeah, definitely. So
I remember when I first met Altaf.
I think a lot of these kind of things are a lot of baggage from Indian subcontinent baggage that's simply just been, exported to
Speaking
the
of
UK.
They had 40 kilos and some cultural baggage as well
Yeah.
when they came on the flight.
PIA, bro. It was all with PIA. 40 kilos
When I
PIA.
met Altaf,
Here's my clothes and here's my cultural baggage.
Altaf, when I met you, yeah, you were like traditionally only ever seen Altaf in the Jubba.
Allahu Akbar.
Now, I can't remember the last time I seen you in a Juba.
This is the 1994 World Cup final top.
Oh, you remember that game?
Only two people have. Who do you think was number 11, Mufti Saab? Let's see if you can remember.
Ronaldo?
No.
Okay, wait. Okay, no, Ronaldo. What's it called? Roberto Carlos.
No, Roberto Carlos is number 3.
Number 3. Number 11.
Come on, can anybody guess this in the comments? 1994 World Cup. Who was on the back?
Okay.
Can't know.
11. Okay, wait, man. Don't tell me.
Alan Shearer.
Brazil, 94. Alan Shearer.
11 was.
Musab's Googling it now.
No, I'm not. Okay, go on. Who knows?
Let's see if anybody can guess it.
Rivaldo.
No, not Rivaldo. Come on, Musab.
No, so look up what I said that.
Abdurrahman's got it already on Facebook.
What is it?
He's got it. Let's see if anybody on your YouTube channel gets it.
I know what it is. It's Maradona.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that as well. I was thinking R. Trust me, I was thinking R. In your mind, my mind was telling me it's R. It's R, bro. Say it.
Let's see. Fucking show you on the back.
Oh
Don't know if you can see it.
Romario.
Oh, Romario.
I'm still going with Maradona.
Astaghfirullah.
Somebody wrote Gary
Hand of
Lineker.
God.
Somebody said Isha time's earlier. Why don't you start the podcast earlier now? We never based you on Isha time, brother. We always based you
in
on
the
Maghrib
future,
time.
I guarantee you, there's gonna be like these kind of reviews, what do they call them? Retrospective reviews. Why did these guys start the podcast? Why did they call it three dates? Why did they start 10 o'clock for? And some arguments are going to debate me because 10 o'clock was the time where Isha was, and some are going to say no because 10 o'clock is a special time. Yeah, all the shops close. The good shops close at 10.
People are going to be like, why didn't they call it the Friday night podcast? Because technically in Islam, it's the Friday night.
Allah Akbar. Naveed, Atikur Rahman's praising you, yeah? Or he's praising one of us, I don't know. Yes, my handsome host is back, mashallah. Allah Akbar. Atik, bro.
You can't be talking about me.
Somebody's written, should cultural baggage be tolerated or removed? It should be removed by the airport, so the person can't bring it into the country.
Unless it's a pot collection from Pakistan.
You can't get rid of cultural baggage. You can't get rid of it, or you can't eradicate it. I mean, interestingly, in America, I've hardly heard of any cultural baggage apart from Pakistani politics. being like an issue that we have in the UK for some reason, and that could be because the kind of the type of people that migrated to America from India subcontinent were of us maybe upper class educated, more educated people, rather than the UK. In the UK, was a lot of the people were just for skills, the basic skills they needed, yeah, from villages and these kind of places. So again, I think it's more of that kind of village sort of, you know.
Any more comments that we need to respond to?
Yeah,
Or
should we,
we'll wrap it up, inshallah.
should we wrap it up? Okay, so is there anyone else? Brother Mukhtar, we don't answer these questions today, Brother Mukhtar. If you can come maybe on tomorrow or Saturday, inshallah. Yeah, so anyway, so I think this is a thing that we could actually go into more detail. We didn't talk about prawns today. Yeah, I thought Altaf's going to say, are prawns halal? Can I eat prawns?
Or bleeding.
You know
And if it
actually what
invalidates
kind
you.
of prawns I like? You know, there was this Thailand guy here in our madrasa, and he made prawn soup. Oh, so lovely. The only problem is that, you know, he didn't take the kind of shell off.
Okay.
And the kind of hard sort of like, what I don't know what it's called. Yeah. And on top of the prawn, you got to like take it off.
Yeah.
That was the
I think
only
you got
kind
it
of...
right the first time. Shell,
Is it called a shell, yeah?
perhaps.
Yeah, so okay. Anything else? No, there's no other questions on here. Anything on Facebook? Good podcast. Cam, you know what? We gotta bring Cam on, man. Cam, you know what? Guess what I done? I injured myself over here. Yeah, playing badminton. I need first of all, I need your special massage, and I need some tips of how to sort this out.
Cam, as in you're talking about.
Oh, we can't hear you, Altaf. Altaf, we cannot hear you.
Which
I
Cam
thought
are you
you're
on
not-
about? Jama Cam.
Yeah, Cam.
Musab, when you were talking about saying, I thought you're gonna ask me about which prawn is best. I was gonna say to you, forget prawns, Mufti Saab. It's all about king crab, man.
Is it nice?
Wait.
Is it nice? Yes or no?
Crabs, yeah. Yeah, there's a place called Kicking Crab in Birmingham. The lady cooks at home. Amazing.
Kicking crab.
Yeah, it's called the Kicking Crab. She cooks at home. She makes it in American style, so it comes in a bag.
Oh,
it's got all these-
delivery.
Yeah, it's delivery. You can pick it up from her, actually. It's in West Brom.
Okay.
But, amazing
Said
food.
Birmingham and it's in West Brom.
It's next door, isn't it?
Now you're gonna try
Amazing
it.
place, Muftab. They serve like crab, lobster, mussels.
You made me laugh off your post. Somebody
No,
asked about steak.
I don't think I'll eat
You
mussels.
go nowhere.
Huh?
Where can I get the best steak in Birmingham? Or something like that. Something along them lines. And I don't know. Your response was really funny, man. I can't remember.
It's actually Siab who texts me that. Siab asked me, he goes to me, Altaf, tell me where I can get the best steak from, and don't tell me it's at your house or something like that. So I said, there is nothing in Birmingham that's nice. It's like looking for good steaks is like looking for a unicorn.
You know what?
Sponsored by Toro's.
Altaf, no offense, bro. Yeah, but I'm gonna say it, bro. And
Go on.
don't get upset. But if you get upset, then you're gonna get upset. I
don't
think
care.
you have reached that level where, you know what, you're not gonna like anyone's food anymore.
So my problem is, Mufti Saab, with steak, right, is that it only takes 3.5 minutes to 5 minutes to cook at home, right? And anybody can cook it as long as you have a stopwatch and a pan.
On the right steak, the right cut.
Yeah, you need the right cut as well. So if you have if you can buy the right cut from, not from your local, but if you can buy the right cut of meat and it's cheaper,
Farm.
it'll take you
Farm.
5 minutes to cook it at home, and it will taste much nicer.
Sponsor me. Hill Farm. Usman, if you're watching.
And if you go to these other places in Birmingham, they're awful. They're absolutely, because they take your money, Mufti Saab. You're paying like 25, 29 quid for food that's not worth that much.
Yeah. You know, okay. You know,
I
I'll
think
tell
that's
you
my
where I
problem.
had a good steak once. You know, Buns and Steaks. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, whole
Bun
green.
and steak,
Yeah,
yeah.
they had a good steak once. But then
That was
after
a long
that,
time ago.
it's kind of changed. I don't know why. Has management changed it?
I have no idea, but quite a few people have mentioned to me it's not that good.
Guys, I just want to put a quick message out there. Loads of my friends own takeaways. If you want me to sponsor any of your stuff, eat any of your food, wear your t-shirt, customer, send the free food. I don't care how unhealthy it is, just send it over. I'll eat it.
No. It doesn't matter how level of hygiene it is. Did you hear about
You
that
come up.
place? That place. What road was it on? That Chippies. They
It was
got
on the road.
closed down. I remember I used to go past it a lot. I think it's on Stafford Road. I think it's Stafford Road. A Chippies.
There's loads of
Chicken.
them
It's
that
called
close down
Chicken
all the
something.
time.
Chicken.
Oh, the chicken. You can go there and buy a 50p chicken burger.
Whoa, really? You got closed down
Yeah,
straight away? They closed it down
it's
straight away?
white.
Must have been really bad.
It's white meat. God knows what it is.
Rat
It was
burgers, man.
pigeon.
Demolition Man, rat burgers.
Some of these places, man, honestly, like, I don't know how they get that price that low, man.
They serve rat, pigeon.
But then some of the other places in Birmingham, Birmingham's a weird place. Like, some places are really cheap and you wonder whether it's actually food. And there's other places which are extortionately high and you look at what you get served and it's like you get charged £30 in one of the restaurants in Birmingham for something and you look at the meat that they put on the table. They put like pasta in front of you, right? And then they put these thin cut steaks and you're like, yeah, these are worth like £4 each. Why are you charging me 30 quid for them?
Remember that place we went to?
It hurts me to pay for chicken. I'll be honest with you.
Rump and ribs.
No, the one,
It's closed down.
the one that closed down.
What's
Oh, three of us, remember? Was it three of us?
Yeah, it's that smokehouse on Ladypool Road.
Yeah. Remember that you had those, I had that pulled, I think, was it pulled
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 beef.
lamb.
pulled meat, lamb, yeah. And I think you had, what did you have?
I can't remember what I had there. I gave them 2 opportunities and both times. it was
Brisket, I
awful.
think you had brisket.
Yeah. Oh, the brisket was the sauce was quite nice actually.
Yeah, that's actually nice and soft and tender. Oh, I'm surprised you closed down.
Yeah, it was
Because they spent all the money on the deco and the food standards weren't great. That's why.
Rusty's.
Rusty's, yeah.
Imran's has become a burger place. Have you seen it?
Everywhere has become a burger place, bro.
You know
I'm
Imran's
po-
restaurant?
It's a new thing
Oh,
now, isn't
Liverpool
it?
Road.
Burgers by. You know what we should do? We
Burgers-
should go on a tour. We should pause our podcast for a while, and instead of a podcast, we should do a little like a series. What do you guys think? Subscribers, what do you
I
think?
think we should do a podcast from a restaurant.
Yeah. What do you guys think? If you guys are in, we can. I think we can probably make that happen. It's gonna have to be. It won't be able to be on a Thursday night. It's gonna have to be more like. Actually, it can be on a Thursday night. I don't know. It won't be live though. I think it's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be recorded.
Now, I got this thing, Mufti Sab. Wait there. Let me see if I can find it. If I can find it, then we'll see. There you go. Oops, Daisy. Camera got knocked off. What's up? This thing here.
All right.
It's a Mevo camera. It's a 4K sensor,
Okay.
and basically you can kind of like record with it, and you can shoot live with it as well.
Hmm.
And it's quite good.
Actually,
Are
you
you
got.
about to start a YouTube channel, bro? Are you gonna be like, I don't know, advice of Altaf? Like
You got.
something like
Okay.
that?
People are saying I'm craving a steak now. We need a cooking with Mufti series on Altaf by his birthday. Damio is saying yes. Muhammad Umar is saying that's awesome. It will give the vids some flavor. Zainur is saying go to Bison Steakhouse in Leeds. Muhammad Umar is saying or change it up rather. Damio is saying yes, we need that. Sharif saying, is there a large cattle industry in the UK or imported beef? I'm not sure. Is there?
It's mainly UK beef, but everybody's pretending that they're getting Japanese stuff nowadays.
But I think you know what we should do. Okay, I think this is what we should do. Maybe once a month. Yeah, we can do something like this. We can get people to vote for a place to go to. We can go there. We can eat. Yeah, and then we can give review, and at the same time we can even answer your questions as well. Actually, it won't
Do
be.
a podcast with that.
I've got a tip for a lot of restaurants, guys. If you want to bump your prices on your beef steak,
You know what you look like. You look like. The kind of videos, the Rishta videos
yeah,
that you kind of like.
You look like those Rishta videos that his family have forced him to do
Yeah.
it.
I am from.
मेरा नाम नवीद है.
talking about you know me. But guys, just find out where the cattle's coming from. Just name the beef here, the cow, wagyu or wagyu, and then technically it would be Wagyu steak. So you haven't lied.
What was that thing about Altaf, that Wagyu thing you put up?
That's exactly what I was saying. Is that so? My local shop's gonna start selling Wagyu. Somewhere in the UK, Mufti Saab, there's a mountain of minced beef that they can't sell anymore because everybody's getting it from Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must be going somewhere in the Donner burgers.
Listen, have you made smash burgers yet, Eldorf? Proper ones?
Of course I have.
Where can you get a decent smash burger, like in a restaurant? I know steak you're saying is terrible. I'm asking you, what's the best burger place in Birmingham? One for gourmet burgers and one for general fast food burgers.
Watch my Instagram live, right? I've just made some umami butter.
Yeah, guys. Oh, yeah, by the
today.
way, all the viewers, yeah, make sure you subscribe to Altaf's Instagram. It's really good. I mean, it's not always good. Some of the things you put up, I don't understand. But the kind of food things, yeah, I'll just watch them. I'll just go through your kind of thing and just check out what you're kind of doing. But it's good, I think, instructional kind of like advice you give to people of how to make these
So I'm
kind of
making
things.
umami burgers at home tomorrow, and I'm making some chimichurri burgers as well, which basically means a burger patty is gonna have flavors in the middle that's gonna be cooked in butter. So when you cook it and you cut it in half, it will just be juice all over.
So do you wash the burgers before? So Yahya, if you're watching, Haludi Fudi.
I don't wash my chicken
What's
either
that
now.
uncle? Wait, Altaf, have you seen that uncle? When he watches people making egg fried rice and he destroys them.
Uncle Roger.
Uncle Roger, man.
Have you
He's
seen
from
that other
Malaysia.
guy? Have you seen that other guy that I don't know? He's East Asian, and he's
Yeah, Uncle Roger.
is that him?
Yes,
What?
Uncle Roger.
And he's kind of like really saying, "This is not how you make rice."
Yeah,
If the
that's it.
rice is wet, you messed up the rice. You must start again. That guy, innit? I love him, man.
People are saying,
He's a
"Call
legend.
it's the roots of food."
What you call it again? He's done one on Jamie Oliver making egg fried rice. Watch it, bro. It kills him.
Some people say, "Do a
Destroys him.
restaurant podcast, do a barbecue." Oh my God, everyone's woken up now. It's like talking about fiqh, talking about Madhabs, talking about Fatwas. Stay quiet. Talking about food.
Khana
All
shana.
right.
Sorry, Pukin.
Yeah, I think that will be something good to try. If it goes well, we can maybe. But I think maybe like we'll do like a once a month thing, and we can choose a place. And if that particular restaurant wants to sponsor us to eat and review, yeah. But our reviews are gonna be honest reviews, yeah. It's not gonna be like
Unless you
these
pay us,
before you
above,
put it in your
like-
mouth. Mmm.
If you pay me over triple digits, it doesn't have to be an honest review. Just putting that out there.
I think I might just say, you know what, forget going to the restaurant. I'll just cook.
Oh, actually, if someone does a dawat for us, someone does a good dawat for us.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, I think we should end it there. Any questions on the Facebook?
We
No,
started off on
nothing.
debates and we ended up with begging people to invite us to the house for food. You know, it's been a constructive night.
Someone's saying call it root canals. Oh, speaking of canals, I heard the bike ride in the canals is quite good. The path.
Yeah. I've been a few times.
Yeah, I'm gonna go riding tomorrow. I'm going
I
with
forgot to tell you
Majid.
the
We're gonna go.
reason
I think
actually
we're gonna go around your area.
The reason
time?
I actually was away last week.
About
the
5ish,
Eastern South.
4:35ish.
It's a bit tough at
So
that time.
The reason why I was away last week is the lads, they did an east to west coast, north, from I think
Oh,
Carlisle
I heard
to
about that.
You sound a bit
Yeah.
confused because you said they did east to west, north, and I was like,
northeast to northwest.
when he got they did east to west, north. I was like, yeah, this guy from Sparkbrook is just making up stuff nowadays. Oh,
This is the
mashallah.
Maradona t-shirt.
Someone's saying, "Damn, you're saying come to Canada. We will not accept that you've gained. You will not leave except that you've gained 50 kilos." Is that in luggage?
Canada, it's our cultural baggage we'll be bringing back with us.
Hey man, Tim Hortons, man.
It's
Tim
sunnah
Hortons,
to comment on the food in a positive light.
You know, Musab, I heard this in a group in it. So I'm on a WhatsApp, a big massive Facebook group, and somebody quoted the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ never criticized food. And,
Okay.
and then there was this whole discussion that took place where one of the guys came back and said, yeah, but he didn't pay for it. Like he was being given it as a gift, and so the context is different.
Yeah, that's a
So
good point.
everybody's losing their marbles over it.
Okay, that's a good point actually. And again, I think this is something that we talked about early on. Is when you take a particular narration and then you generalize it so much that then if you eat food somewhere and someone's saying to you, "Is there enough salt in there?" and you're going, "Yeah, mashallah, there's enough," and there's not, and like 100 people are going to be eating this food, right? So I think criticism for the sake of criticism is wrong, obviously, but for people's feedback, I think it's obviously it's a good thing.
Altaf, have you ever made baklava?
No real interest.
You're not into sweet dishes, are you?
I'm not into making them anyway. Go to Mackey's and buy McFlurry.
You know who actually makes good sweet dishes? Mullah Ibrahim. Mullah Ibrahim, Panama.
When I ran bomb because his wife's a mashallah amazing baker.
Yeah, whoa. He makes good cakes and his wife makes good cakes as well.
Yeah, mashallah.
Next level. Anyway, guys, so we are going to finish there. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. And inshallah, we will see you next week, guys. Inshallah, we're going to have a podcast on mental disorders and issues amongst the Muslim community and how Muslims see it. And hopefully, we're going to try to get... maybe we should try to get... I'm thinking maybe with like a doctor or someone, we should get also someone who is like experienced Raqi or something. Yeah, I think that might be a good way. Or maybe, I don't know.
The problem is if you get a Raqi Mufti Sahib, it's like you're justifying their business.
Yeah, but the reason
You're
I'm saying we bring a
legitimizing
Raqi on is because so we can see what kind of people come to that person.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I think it's like people need to be aware of how desperate are people that they're going to a Raqi. And when we say Raqi, yeah, we don't mean, Adrian. Have you seen that one where he says, he goes like he's got a messed up face and he's going, I just went to the shops to buy milk, and it's like after the Fridays, there was it that Black Friday sales.
Yeah.
I just went to the shop to buy milk.
I think we need to close this off now, Mufti Sahib.
Alright, guys, Jazakallah khair, and we'll see you next time, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Let me log off. Give me 1 second.